Do you know what bums me out a bit? We've had all these, indie games and a bit of an indie game revolution. Yet none of the old Flash games or none of the old Newgrounds games have so far shown up. Uh, Case in point, Dino Run. Anybody remember Dino Run? But that's not really the point of this video. One of the, I guess, one of the games that I currently forget the name of that showed up in Newgrounds. I believe it was Newgrounds, anyways. I've looked in it. Well, I haven't looked on Flash games yet because there are a lot of them and I have no computer. But uh, basically, it was this almost like a it was like a Pokemon game, but a Lovecraftian one. And the art style of it was basically something akin to a mashup of Don't Starve and uh, Father Forgive Me. But of course, before both of them, I think this game predates. Hell, I think it predates Don't Starve. I mean, I was very young when I played this, uh, and basically, you do exactly what you'd expect. You trade monsters, you fight monsters, you breed them, you go around, but they're all Lovecraftian monsters, and it had this fucking art style, which was just so nice. But it just vanished into the ether. I fucking would love to see it return. But with all these, all the fact that indie games seem to be the rage, and the fact that, put it simply, I don't trust any of the fucking major developers anymore. I mean, just look at what they did to Saints Row, and you know, I mean, hell, so many of them, so many franchises. You know, the, look at what they're doing to 40K. Warhammer 40K. I have a feeling they're probably going to remove Slanesh from 40K eventually, though that's more of just a theory. But I don't honestly trust them to do it all. That and, well, to be honest with you, while I would love a Pokemon game that was, you know, in the art style of the aforementioned games and was, well, I mean, literally imagine the old games, but instead of roaming through like, nice, pretty-looking forests and scenic views, you're rummaging around in dark forests, foreboding places, junkyards, and ancient ruins and the like. Looking for these little Lovecraftian monsters I mean, basically Lovecraftian Pokemon. Now, there was no overworld so far as I remember, and I mean, the game seemingly vanished from the face of the earth from what I've looked at, though I haven't looked up. I'll continue looking, but if you guys can find what I'm looking about, leave it in the comment section, the name of the game, but, you know, I think it would be very nice. What with the fact that genuine competitors to Pokemon, I mean, there's Digimon, but Digimon is essentially discount Pokemon, or at least at one point it was basically discount Pokemon. Uh, and you got all these other, you got Monster Rancher and stuff like that, but no, they all feel like they're trying to copy Pokemon. They all these cutesy art styles. I mean, all of them are anime. And while I would like, I, I don't think humans were styled in the anime style, but you know, I'd like it for reasons, obvious reasons. But anyways, um, I mean, I guess other than me just rambling on about missing that game and wanting to see it, genuinely brought up that, in fact, that I personally think that Pokemon, I think, needs a genuine competitor. And I think a competitor, not in the sense of a game where you're running around cutesy buildings and towns and forests and stuff looking for cutesy little monsters. I mean a competitor in a different style. I mean, hell, I hate to call them boomer shooters, though I guess that's a more recent thing because, uh, it's only one style of old school shooter. However, look at your boomer shooters. You have every flavor you can think of. But then when you look at stuff like your Pokemon-esque games or I guess your monster fighting collection games, they all either look like Pokemon or are trying to ape the sort of cutesy monster collector. It's so bad, and man, I would love for this game. Like I said, I forget the name of the game, but to have a monster collecting slash fighting game that is in the artistic style of, you know, from what I remember, of course, it's been a long time. The art style, the best way I can describe it is this dark comic, like Father Forgive Me, or it was a little more saturated in color, but Don't Starve, kind of like that. Um, but you had these just little Lovecraftian monsters. Now, they weren't like Pokemon in the sense that you had set monsters. They were basically almost, you could say, randomly generated in a sense because, some of them had little Cthulhu heads. Some had little fish heads, like angler fishes and stuff like that. And some had little tentacle arms uh, and stuff. And you basically, the different monsters would essentially just be color swapped, mix matched forms of these various bits and parts. So you had a lot of variety, but take that game and pull it out to a full blown like Pokemon competitor esque game, and the fact that indie games are going so hard, and the fact that nowadays, I mean, look at those I mean, I know Don't Starve isn't an indie game, but I mean, it's definitely not from fucking developers like Bethesda or something. The time for small game developers to basically make their games, bring their ideas to life. The fact that essentially none of the old, uh, I mean, before you had the indie scene, it was Flash Games and Newgrounds and sites like those. The fact that none of those have had any kind of return of their IPs, back a little word, I guess it's really not lack of a better word. I mean, I haven't seen a game like the game that I'm describing in ages, you know. I mean, there's Monster Breeding, which was another game sort of like it, but I would be cautious looking up that title of that game. That and it wasn't as good. I didn't like it as much as I liked the other game. We haven't had any games like that. Or Dino Run. Hell, if you could really say this about pretty much any of those game intellectual properties. LA T-Rex, fucking the dating simulator game on Flash Games, all of them, just all of them. None of them have returned so far as I'm aware. And if you want to think of it this way, and what makes me so sad that none of these games have ever been made into proper games is that the first exposure to World of Warcraft I ever had was a Newgrounds game where you played as the friggin' Marlarks. I didn't even know it was World of Warcraft until years later. I thought this was its own game that someone made, and I loved it. It was fucking great. To this day, when I'm looking through more correctly, watching commercials of Hearthstone, and I see little Marlarks pop up, or really whenever I see the Marlarks pop up in discussions or talk about World of Warcraft at all, it just brings a smile to my freaking face. I guess, in my heart too, because remembering going to school and playing those games were just great. In fact, none of them have come back. It's extremely disappointing. If you can somehow, well, I guess don't pester people, but if you had a favorite Newgrounds or Flash game maker, and they're still into making games, and you can contact them, I would definitely urge them to try to genuinely turn these games into games. Because, like this game that I've been describing in this video, it might just vanish on you, and you may never get that game. That Lovecraftian Pokemon game. So, or if you made a game like that, I just try and turn it into that, LA Rex on the Xbox One, Dino Run on the Xbox One or PlayStation 4. I guess the new console thing, if there's a new generation. But, I guess I'm rambling on again. I guess do those things. Appreciate the games you got, because a lot of them might vanish on you. And, of course, don't be adults, people, about it either. Don't harass people, But, if you were a maker, think about it. And if you like those games, definitely mention it to them if you can, because we're not getting much better.